Okay, so when you hear the phrase invasive species, you probably think you know the story. I mean, we've all heard it 100 times, right? It usually goes something like this. Some new species shows up where it doesn't belong. It's tough, it's aggressive, and it just starts to mess everything up for the locals. Yeah, in this classic script, the invader is the clear bad guy, right? And the native species, they're the victims. It's a pretty straightforward story of ecological chaos. Well, that's where our story today takes a really interesting turn. We're going to dive into a case that completely flips that simple script, a real-life ecological whodunit from the Mediterranean Sea. All right, every good mystery needs a suspect, so let's introduce ours. We're talking about a fish with a pretty fearsome reputation, operating in one of the most invaded marine ecosystems on the entire planet. So meet the silver-cheeked toadfish. This guy showed up in the Mediterranean back in 2003, probably hitched a ride through the Suez Canal. It's big, it can grow up to a meter long, it's a serious predator, it's known for tearing up fishing nets. Oh, and it's lethally poisonous if you eat it. I mean, by all accounts, this thing is the poster child for a bad invader. And the scene of the crime, the Eastern Mediterranean. Now, this isn't just any old patch of water. It is a full-blown biological invasion hotspot. We're talking over 100 non-native fish species all living there. So this ecosystem is already under some serious pressure. And this is the million-dollar question that researchers wanted to answer. With all these new species swimming around, what is the actual impact of this notorious new fish? Is it really living up to its villainous reputation? To figure this out, scientists basically had to go undercover. They set up a massive underwater stakeout to gather the evidence they needed to crack this case. Their main tool was this thing, a baited remote underwater stereo video system, or stereo brew for short. Honestly, just think of it as a spy camera for fish. They dropped 88 of these rigs all along the Israeli coast, recording thousands of minutes of footage to see, how everyone reacted when the toadfish slammed by. But hey, eyewitness video isn't always enough to get a conviction, right? So they backed it up with some good old-fashioned forensic evidence. Along with all that camera surveillance, they analyzed the stomach contents of 125 toadfish to get the hard proof of what they were actually eating. And what they saw on those eyewitness cameras, well, it was the first major twist in the whole investigation. The way other fish reacted to the toadfish was not at all what you'd expect. The footage showed this incredible split-screen reaction. Whenever a toadfish showed up on camera, the other invasive species just freaked out. They took off, they hid in the sand, they tried to camouflage themselves. But the native species, for the most part, they just kind of seemed unbothered. Almost like they didn't even notice the supposedly terrifying predator was there. And the data makes this crystal clear. The scientists crunched the numbers to measure the change in how many fish were around when a toadfish was present. And as you can see, for the other invaders, that big bar on the left, that number is way down in the negative. They vanish. For the native species, that tiny little bar on the right, it's right around zero. Basically no change at all. Let's put some hard numbers on that. A whopping 81% of the other non-native species dropped in numbers when the toadfish was around, but less than half of the native species did the same. The fear was totally one-sided. So why? This is where the second part of the investigation, the forensics, comes in. The behavior on camera was a huge clue, but the scientists needed the smoking gun. They needed to look inside the toadfish's stomach. And here it is. This is the evidence. Of all the prey items they could identify in the lab, a staggering 96.1% were other invasive species. Just 3.1% were native Mediterranean species. The toadfish wasn't just scaring other invaders. It was pretty much only eating them. And when you look at the specific items on the menu, the story is just undeniable. Its number one favorite food? The invasive lesser swimming crab. Number two? The invasive yellow spotted puffer. In fact, its top 4 favorite meals are all fellow invaders. And this part is so important. The researchers point out that the toadfish is one of the only things that preys on other super poisonous invasive pufferfish in the Mediterranean. This is something called top-down control, where a predator keeps the population of other species in check. So it's not just eating invaders, it's controlling other invaders that pretty much nothing else can. So what's the verdict here? When you put the eyewitness accounts from the spy cams together with the hard forensic evidence from the lab, the picture becomes really, really clear. First off, there's no doubt about it. The silver-cheeked toadfish is a powerful, impactful predator. It is absolutely changing the game in the ecosystem it now calls home.
But, and this is the huge twist we promised, its predatory pressure, its whole villain act, is aimed almost exclusively at its fellow invaders. For the native community, its direct impact seems to be surprisingly small.
So, the big takeaway here is that the simple good guy versus bad guy story doesn't always work, especially in ecology. In these ecosystems that are just saturated with new species, a whole new set of rules is being written, where invaders prey on other invaders, creating these complex new food webs we're only just starting to figure out. And all of this leaves us with a much bigger and kind of tricky question. As our world fills up with more and more of these novel ecosystems, what does that mean for conservation? In a world full of villains, it turns out sometimes another villain might just be the hero you never expected.